All right, all right. It's time for another great episode of the Beach Brothers Show. The Beach Brothers Show. We're three gentlemen who live in the beach. We love Virginia. We love politics. We love business. I particularly love business. I'm Seko Varner, your producer. At the bottom, we have our chess master, our chess guru, Brother Conrad Chessventer. And we have with us tonight an array of people who are going to bring some interesting points to the platform. So tonight we're talking about Fist Up. We're going to represent the original Black Panthers of Virginia. And we have the General, salute the General. That's a hip hop salute. That's not with an organization. Hip hop salute to good brother General Mike Payne. We also have with us back on the platform the good brother Madison Downs and Jerome Bell. And so now it's not going to just be social political. It's going to be political. And that's great. Brother Conrad, man, take us away, sir.
Well, good evening to everyone. Madison, Jerome, General Mike Payne, how are you guys tonight?
Good, man.
Not bad.
Glad to see that my mic is working. I want to get in tonight to talk general about helping communities in various fashions, and I think that we all have distinct opinions on that. So we would like to bring on the show, of course, Mr. Mike Payne, the General. I understand you were born in Wisconsin. Can you tell us a little bit about how long were you in Wisconsin before coming to Virginia?
I lived there till I was, back and forth between there and Georgia, a few other places. I moved around a lot, but I came to Virginia when I was about 18 years old, maybe going to 19, somewhere around there. And I came here with the U.S. military, and then I jumped out of the military and been here ever since.
Well, you're in good company with Mr. Madison and Jerome, also military brethren.
Absolutely.
Did you originally settle in the Hampton Roads area?
You said what now?
Did you originally settle in the Hampton Roads area, Norfolk and what's up?
Absolutely, yeah. As soon as I got out, I stayed here, and I haven't went nowhere since.
Cool. Well, I understand you also have a little bit of an in-depth background, some acting and music. Would you like to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. I originally started out from even coming from the military, doing a little bit of music and things like that. I was doing well with that, going on tours throughout Atlanta, North Carolina, South Carolina, different places like that. But I didn't like the way music was going, the direction it was going, and I like to make stuff that was true to myself. And I ended up making a song called Black on Black. And that song talked about police violence against our community and the different things that we were going through. So when I did that, in that song, it said, can I bring the Panthers back? And I thought to myself, I think I should try to really do that. And I wondered if that was possible. During this time, I had a movie that was out already. So I was getting notoriety from that. It was doing really well, still doing well. Matter of fact, it's selling pretty good. It was in Walmart, Best Buy. It's called Incomplete. That film did well, but while that was still bubbling, that's when I was reaching out, trying to transition to do something better for my community and better for the people in it. And just I saw a void that needed to be filled. I wanted to do something that was proactive. I didn't want to just be out there, complaining about stuff or putting stuff on social media. I wanted to be really active in helping my people and helping the community raise up. So that's what I did, and that's how I ended up reaching out to King Rick.
Speaking of King Rick out of Milwaukee, tie us into who he might be, what he does for the Black Panthers, and, of course, the date of July 15th, 2018, when you created your version.
Yeah, we King Rick had, he had been the bodyguard for Geronimo Pratt. He's been bred into the Panther Cubs all the way up. We actually start off going all the way through connecting to the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense that started in 1966 out in Oakland, California. So
Raiders.
There you go. But yeah, we definitely connect with them through Michael McGee Sr., who started the Black Panther Militia, and King Rick came up as a bodyguard under him, and he ended up starting the original Black Panthers, and that's how we got to where we are now, as far as being able to submit and start our chapter as far as the Black Panthers, the original Black Panthers in Virginia.
All right. Now, sort of bring us full front to the mission of the original Black Panthers of Virginia, and how it might compare and contrast to how we might classically see the Panthers.
Yeah, a lot of it is still the same. Of course, some things have changed. As far as our 10-point program, it's basically the same, but some things have changed, of course, because the times have changed. Of course, economically, we have to do things a little bit differently. In the way to get the things that we need for our people and for the community, we have to approach things just a little bit differently. And we've learned from the mistakes in the past that were made as far as, with COINTELPRO and different things that went on with J. Edgar Hoover. So we've learned from that. We've corrected some things, but our whole mission statement is to really uplift the community, protect our kings and queens, love, honor, respect, our men, women, and children, to change even the mindset of some of our Black people, to where we can get back together and learn how to love each other and really take care of each other. And not just our family members, but, other people that we just may see that we don't know that need that help. So that's what we do. We go out, and anyone that's detrimental to the community, we have a problem with, whether, what color, Black, white, it doesn't matter. If our people are in danger, our people are being hurt by whatever individual, they have to, we have to do something about it. We got to get them out of there. And it's something we don't stand for. So we're all about protecting our community. We're all about protecting our women and children.
What has been the growth since July of 2018?
Oh, it's been a lot. When we first started out, we had to almost look for certain things that were going on. We had to look for different things in the community and trying to find where we needed to help out at. Now we get so many calls, it's almost like we can't facilitate to every one of them. We get calls from out of state. We get calls from out the country sometimes. It's become extremely big, especially since we started, going to stores, and shutting stores down and approaching them about the different things that they're doing in our community and mistreating our young kings and queens and the women in our community. That has been a major effective point that's made growth really quick. Since we started, I would say now we have more donations coming in. We're getting more support. We're able to give a lot more to the community. We're able to feed a lot more people. We're able to put on more programs. And, of course, COVID stopped a lot, but we were able to, we grew a lot really, really fast. And we were able to really help out and do a lot more mentoring and, things of that nature.
Before we get over to touching on mentoring and stuff, after George Floyd's murder, demonstrations picked up all over the nation, including right here in Virginia Beach and in Norfolk. And I was at the one at Norfolk Scope, and I noticed that the Panthers were also there. And I take it that this organization will be front and center for various meetings, specifically on activism related to justice. And are you looking to grow that aspect?
Well, the thing about that is, we did the one protest. It was almost maybe about 2,500 people that day. And it was controlled. It was done the right way. Everything had a point. When we went out there and we stopped and we did a moment of silence, it was for the time period that it took for Mr. Floyd to be executed. So we did everything with a point and a purpose. Before we started, you can see on video, I was telling everybody with weapons, make sure they're legal. Watch out for this, watch out for that. We had all that down packed. Afterwards, we had a list of demands and different people that we want to speak to, including the police chief, all these different things. And all those things happened. And we were able to sit down and go over what we wanted and what we needed. The thing I didn't like was the different countless protests that had no plan B, where it was just people going out, yelling, kicking over stuff, and then there's no plan B and nobody cared about it. what I like to do is we don't really typically even protest like that. We like to really go straight to the source, straight to the horse's mouth, speak to who we need to speak to, confront who we need to confront, and then be done with it. And or unless we have to keep going on until we get what we need out of the situation. But as far as just going out protesting and doing that over and over, I don't like it because it's dangerous. I see a lot of different groups like Black Lives Matter. There's some different groups all over the country that do this protesting, and they don't know who's part of their group, you see. And by us having the name that we have, we'll go out there, protest. Next thing you know, somebody throw a brick or rock or whatever. Then that one person runs off and they say, oh, the original Black Panthers did this, that, and the other, started a riot wherever they did it. And, we don't know who's going to just turn around with whatever gun they're carrying and he may kill us, kill somebody else, and then we're responsible for a whole, big chaos full of, stuff. So I don't really like it. I like to keep my army around me that I know, and I like to do things in a particular way to where I know that, we're in control of what we're doing.
Sounds more strategic.
Absolutely.
As a group, how many leaders within the community, even legislators, have you met with?
Well, I think I would say everyone we've needed to meet with, we've met with thus far. We've even went straight to to a few offices, and we have that on camera as well. The governor, we've also met, of course, with the police chief of Norfolk, maybe 2 or 3 times. And, a lot of people will say, well, why do you meet with such and such? Or, if you don't agree with the next person or whatever, but you have to keep dialogue open. You have to keep communication open. Who runs this, that, or the other is who runs it. And if they're going to be in charge, I want to hold them accountable for what they're in charge of. And I want to make sure that they know that they need to answer for whatever they're saying they're going to do. If that's their responsibility, if Norfolk is their responsibility, then I want to make sure that they are being held up to the standard that they've set.
I'm going to try and wrap this next one into the general premise of our particular show, which is both business and is politics. Okay. So how does the original Black Panthers of Virginia and that organization like to inspire the community, and what can it do both on a political and business front? Perhaps you can touch on a couple things in the past couple of years that you've done literally in the community to inspire.
Yeah, and that's a really good question. I'm glad you asked that. Sometimes, it's going to sound crazy, it's going to sound simple, but just us walking, doing patrols through neighborhoods seems to be very inspiring. If you go to a lot of communities, and I won't say impoverished communities, but I will say communities that are a little bit less fortunate in certain situations and certain aspects, but they will see and they look at a positive, strong Black male, a positive, strong Black woman. And a lot of that plays a big role in the psyche. When you hear some of the rap music and they talk about who they had to look up to, the hustlers, the pimps, the gangbangers, blah, 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 whatever, what have you. But now you can actually look up to someone who is strong, positive, not weak, not docile, not ready to just bend over and take it. We are strong Black men and women, and just us walking through does a lot. Now, when we also do our programs, we also do stuff like we'll let the young boys, young kings, we'll let them know, hey, let the queens go first when it's time to eat and time to get this, that, and the other. You'll see us when we're doing our shopping with a Panther situation, when they're cleaning up their own neighborhoods and learning respect for their own neighborhoods, learning that it doesn't have to be a hood. It can be an actual home, a place that you can love, a place that is beautiful, as long as you clean it up, take care of it. But while we're doing that, we're showing these different things that they need, these skills, and how to treat the women the right way, and the women how to treat the men the right way. These are just some skills that a lot of the children aren't getting, at home sometimes. And we want to make sure that they get them. So as far as how, example, that's what even the way we march, our women are always protected every time. So to answer your question with that, yeah, that's how we're doing that. But economically, we have some things that are coming up that we plan on doing. Like I said, COVID kind of put a little damper on a few things, but we have some plans in place as far as some things we're going to change. But I know as far as the stores like Paradise Pizza that we had a problem with, and the other one in Portsmouth, we make them lose money a whole lot, and we're trying to show our people how to keep the money within our own community, not just to let it come out of our hands so quickly, not to give our money to people who don't treat us right. We put out a lot of revenue every year, and it should not be wasted. Just like our votes and different things like that shouldn't be wasted. We can't become wasteful people where we're just letting our stuff fly out and not care about it. And that's one thing that's hard for us when we're trying to shut these different stores and things down, that the Black people will continue to shop there. And we're trying to tell you, even if you can't get to a Black-owned place and shop Black, at least go someplace that respects you and that's not going to treat you bad and that's not going to terrorize the community or disrespect the people.
I sort of want to have, if we could, a general chat on politics, and I put politics in quotes. Should we be sort of myopic on the view of parties when you think about it? Is activism better by people who are straight Democrats like myself, or perhaps just Republicans like Madison and Jerome? Or is there something that we can all do that is better than just one particular party?
Yeah, I think us as Black people shouldn't pick a particular party. I think that we should pick whoever will have a benefit to our community and to what we have going on, into the Black agenda, whether that be Republican or Democrat. I think that, if we pick politicians and we give our votes, we should give it to someone who's going to benefit our community and what we have actually going on. I don't really believe that our agenda has been in the best interest of a Republican or a Democratic Party. I believe that, they kind of are the, left wing, right wing, same bird. Our interest hasn't really been, something that they've been interested in a while, or since its inception, I would say. But the thing with that is, voting to me is a good 10 to 15% of what we should be really concentrating on anyway. I mean, I think that's the icing on the cake. We should stop looking for saviors and stop looking for these different politicians to save us and help us out. We should help our own selves out. You have people like the Chinese and different people like that will build Chinatown in the middle of everywhere, wherever they go. And we should be doing the same thing. We should be concentrating when they say rock the vote and vote or die and all these different things they say. They should be saying buy land, put money together, grow businesses. That's the stuff that should be promoted to me rather than voting. That helps us, and we build our economy a lot better within ourselves if we do that. But voting, it's important. I'm not going to be irresponsible and say it's not important, especially your local vote. That's the most, because that directly impacts you. But we have to do these other things and have to fix things ourselves and start depending on ourselves. I always compare us to we have to get out of our infancy. And what I mean by that is an infant always continuously has to be fed. There comes a time when you have to feed yourself, and you have to get out of that and be able to pick up your own fork and spoon and feed yourself, and stop looking for somebody else to feed you.
So let's sort of bring it back to where you mentioned about the Black agenda. What would be the best ways you might immediately be able to think of to improve the Black community?
A lot of it is really just the mindset. Starting off the mindset of our people, and being able to see examples of strong Black men and women. We are being attacked in so many different ways through our media, through the TV, through our music. Those things are destroying us. When you have a people that hasn't been blessed with, I guess you can call generational wealth, and you have a people that really hasn't had anything, a lot of times we fall for self-preservation, and we don't think about the village anymore. We just think about ourselves and our immediate family. And that's a gigantic problem, because you can even see in the music, you'll get a millionaire and they'll get their mama out, the grandmama, this, that, and the other, but then they'll do and say certain things that's destroying millions of other brains and other young minds within those communities. You'll have people that look up to the drug dealer, as I always say, and the drug dealer will destroy the community 364 days, and then give out turkeys and food baskets on the last day of the year, and everybody praises him like you did something really good. These are things that we have to get out of. The no snitch situation. I always speak about that. If anybody has ever studied criminal activity or the mob, that doesn't apply to civilians. We got everybody's fooled right now thinking that snitching is if you just talk to the police or you tell them such and such. That's not what it is. If you're not in the criminal element and if you're not in the life of crime, then snitching doesn't even apply to you. You're a civilian. So we need to get our people's mindset, first of all, out of these destructive thought behaviors, because that's holding us in a box. And a lot of us can't get out of that box just simply because of the mindset. After that, we have to look at the economy, and we have to look at holding our dollars and where we're spending our dollars. There's a whole lot we have to do. There's a lot of work. Like I said, we're being attacked by a whole lot of different ways. Even when you see the movies and the Black family that's portrayed on the movies, it's usually not two fully Black people for the parents. It's always a mixed couple. It's always this, that, and the other, or whatever. It's just we're losing what we have, which is what we used to have, which is the strong Black family, and that's something that they've been trying to break up since the beginning. This isn't no type of BS rhetoric I'm just spewing to you. Of course, with COINTELPRO, that was one of the things they did under law, was to try to break up the Black family, break up the Black church, and all the things they held powerful to us. And they always wanted to keep to make sure the Black Messiah was never going to be raised, and they continue to do so. It's a program. I'm not gonna say it's a big plan or Illuminati or anything like that. It's a program, and it's been ongoing, and it's still in effect.
Well, I would like to try to bring Mr. Jerome and Madison in on this, because I respect the fact that they both ran for Congress this year. Mm-hmm. They have a great want to try to help, not just say this community, Virginia Beach or Chesapeake, Norfolk, Suffolk, that area, and that they're on what might be considered the other side of a political spectrum. So I would like you guys also to sort of come in, and do you have any comments about where he might be right, or maybe something was very intriguing or wrong, or I want to be constructive.
Right. No. Well, me and Madison are always constructive. That's one thing we are, and that's how we ran our campaigns, and that's what some people hated about our campaign, because we were constructive, because we were about agendas for the American people, and especially, of our neighborhoods, the forgotten neighborhoods. If you heard me speak before, I talk about the forgotten Americans, the forgotten in the urban communities and things like that. But first of all, man, General Mike Payne, first of all, thank you for your service. I heard, you were in
Hey, thank you.
Thank you for your service. And pretty much, I'm actually intrigued because pretty much everything you said and have said, me and Madison also says, a lot about the Black community, what the Black community needs to do to uplift ourselves. Because it's really about us. It's really about us. It's not about, reaching out for handouts for anyone else. We have to take care of our own communities first. So I'm glad you said a lot of things that you said. I'm glad that you mentioned about doing your protests and your rallies the right way, not like BLM, and Antifa and these, basically, thugs basically go out to just destroy our neighborhoods, because that's what happens. And like I said, one person throw a rock and then they're gone. So that's what happens in our neighborhoods a lot when we go and do these protests or when something happens. And like I said, we need to focus on just building our neighborhoods, building our entrepreneurship within our neighborhoods, and showing our people how to build and maintain business and push others out of our neighborhood to where our money can stay within our neighborhoods. We can hire our own, we can build our own communities, we can have ownership, and that's going to build and make our communities thrive. And with the Black people, that's the hardest thing to do in our communities, because we like to save money, so we go to a cheaper outlet that, like you say, may not treat us right, but we don't spend our money there, So I'm glad that you seem to be on board with, hey, we can start our own business. We may have to pay a little higher price, but it's ours, and it's going to build our communities, and that money is going to stay within our community. But I'm gonna ask you a question real quick. I hope you say the right thing, and I'm thinking you will. But what's your take on Black extermination in our neighborhoods with these abortion clinics?
As far as, are you talking about eugenics, or are you just talking about Planned Parenthood, or what?
Well, Planned Parenthood is nothing. Planned Parenthood is nothing but eugenics. Is the eugenics program. So to me, so overall, as far as life, I know you said that we protect our women and our children. Now, does that include protecting our unborn children as well? Because Planned Parenthoods are placed in the Black neighborhoods for the purpose of exterminating our Black men and women in the womb. So I want to get your take on that.
What I don't do is, with that situation, I don't like to throw all women into one box, because I know there's different situations and circumstances for each individual woman. When you have things like rape or molestation or whatever goes on, and maybe a baby might be conceived from that, then with that, I think a woman should have the choice to do what she feels is needed to do. I don't think it should be used for just, people making random mistakes and doing it over and over again, and, going to a clinic like you're picking up a soda or something like that. Of course, I think those things are despicable and wrong. But as far as other situations, that's a tough one, because, like I said, each woman has a different situation, and I don't want to take away their right as far as to be able to handle those if needed. But there has to be some type of stipulations on each thing. Okay.
All right. Go ahead, Madison. I'll let you roll for a minute.
Yeah, I think he answered that beautifully. There are always going to be, not always, but there can be extenuating or mitigating circumstances as to why abortion could be approved. I do think that there needs to be some sort of legislation, though, put in place to make sure that it's not just done, just arbitrarily. Insofar as what I'm hearing out of Mr. Payne is that, he's against systematic racism. He used a different term for it. He wants to see more opportunities being presented in the neighborhoods that would produce more entrepreneurs, which will create more Black dollars in order to keep them within the neighborhood. So, but we've spoken offline about this, Mike and I, or Mr. Payne and I have. So And I also hear the difference between, their philosophy, meaning the Black Panthers philosophy, in contrast to BLM. Obviously it's more patriarchal, within the Black Panthers, whereas BLM is they want to do away with a patriarchal society altogether.
Yeah, they do.
They don't have any need for Black men, according to what they've written. And I know they've changed their mandate several times. I mean, they've tried to go around and play with the wording to try to make it more palatable, but I mean, the gist of it is still the same. So from what I know of Mr. Payne, and he's just confirming everything that we've spoken about, offline. So I'm looking forward to working with him.
Absolutely. And definitely, when you mentioned not getting behind a political party, okay, that's one thing that Madison and I, that was our battle. Our battle, unfortunately, was against the Democrats, of course, because I don't believe that the Democrats have ever been for Black America or the Black society. All the way back through history, and it's dated. As far as the Republican Party, the free black men actually started the Republican Party. And so historically, Black men are conservatives, or Black people are conservatives. And that goes all the way back to the end of slavery up and through, we didn't start voting Democrat until we were fooled in 1965, the 1964 timeframe.
I'm not sure if fooled is the right word. Leveraged. We leveraged that.
Okay, you may say leveraged. I say fooled. And the reason I say fooled, because it was our Black leadership that got the masses of Black people to actually vote one way, so.
And that particular leader who negotiated that and kind of, negotiated that deal, and it wasn't, simply, Dr. King, but it was others that were surrounding the SLC and Snake and all of them. But they went and they said, hey, look, America's been screwing us over. Both parties have been screwing us over. Traditionally, both parties have screwed people of African descent over. I know that those of us who are red or blue are going to support our team. We're either Team Washington or we're the Cowboys. And that's, people play politics like they support football teams. No matter how bad their team is doing, we're going to support them. But my point is that it was leveraged. And the president said at that time, hey, if you want the voting ability, make me do it. Make me do it. And so they leveraged it, and they said, okay, good. If you do this, if you get everybody on your squad to vote for my team, we'll make sure that you have voting rights. And he secretly called it the N-word bill. Well, not so secretly. He didn't say it in that meeting, but it's been referred to as the N-word bill, which allowed for those things to happen in terms of voting. But that had to be leveraged. Everything that has happened for people of African descent had to be leveraged against one particular party for us to have anything. And it's important that we look at history to really look at it. When we look back at, I can't remember the name of the president, but the troops weren't integrated until America needed us to fight somebody. Truman.
Truman in 48.
Yeah. Until, Truman said, you know what, we're going to lose this. We got to bring our brothers in. Then we let the brothers in. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we're not going to be able to win this political battle unless we give the brothers and sisters the right to vote. So it's only when America needs us that they give us something. It's in time for us to leverage the fact that this last election was a great example. I've been saying since 2019, the Democrats need us to win. The Republicans are not going to win easily without us. And as you can see toward the end, both of them were saying, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. Now, both of them were junk. Trump's platinum plan was cubic zirconium, and Joe Biden's plan was a bunch of junk as well. It was both saying, hey, we recognize that these are the historical things that our federal government and America has done, and we're going to help everybody. And that's going to help you. And we all know that a rising tide lift all boats thing doesn't work, because if there's a disparity, that disparity just rises. So, you know, nobody wants to help us. We got to help ourselves. And people keep talking that, you know, like I said, people keep wanting to address us by helping everybody. After we were able to obtain the right to vote, then the United States government allowed more immigrants to come. And I'm not saying anything's bad with immigrants. I'm glad they came to our beautiful country. But in doing so, it disenfranchised those that were just working to get the rights. We worked to get one of the rights, and you know, America said, okay, we're going to make sure that more of our Black Americans have the ability to work in the workforce here in America. And what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that you can't discriminate on everybody. And so now we hired more white women to act as minorities, to work as minorities, further preventing the group that fought for the right. We don't benefit from it. We fight for it, and others benefit from it. Everything that we fought for, white women, and I have nothing against white women, love y'all, but white women and immigrants, have nothing against immigrants, I love y'all, but white women and immigrants have gained everything that our foundational Black Americans, the ADOS, the American descendants of slaves, fought for. Everyone else has benefited from, because the government always says we're going to help you by helping everybody.
Well,
see,
we gotta be specific.
But not only that, Seko, man, I think the problem is that we champion every other cause than our own. Absolutely. So it's been our fault that has taken place. And like you say, white women, affirmative action, the biggest, you know, benefactor of affirmative action was white women, you know, so that's all known, you know, so in that saying, that's where, if you follow me and Madison's campaign, me and Madison, like I said, we fought against the GOP establishment, you know, because we're conservatives. Okay, we're conservatives first, not Republicans, and you know, and that's why we call ourselves the Radical Republicans. That's our show, you know, because we go against the mainstream GOP establishment, because we understand that we are conservatives first, and being conservatives, that comes back to being the nuclear family, that comes back to the village raising children, that comes back to our communities taking care of ourselves. And here's the thing, though, with people like me and Madison, we get ridiculed, unfortunately, from our own communities. Now, we have the same goals, we have the same vision as my brother General Mike Payne here, right? Right. So why are we ridiculed? Why are we called traitors to our race in our communities? Because we're quote unquote Republicans, but we have the same vision, and we could help our communities more than Elaine Luria, who just got elected, or any of these other people that got elected around here, because we have that vision. We have the same vision of General Mike Payne and of our Black communities. So, and I think the education on that needs to take place within our communities. And that's one thing, you know, that I would ask General Mike Payne to do, is to educate, continue to educate our community on the politicians like myself and Madison, who actually will help the Black community, because we have the same vision and goals.
Well, brother, I would say, man, don't worry about getting ostracized.
Oh no,
every good leader is ostracized.
We ain't worried about that, man. Trust me, we ain't worried about that, man.
He was kicked out of his church. He was only embraced by the young people. The old people were like, hey, man, you better be quiet. You're going to get us all in trouble. No. If you look at every...
Seko, you said something earlier. I just want to kind of... You were mentioning about the immigrants and white women, right? And how they have benefited. Now it's LGBTQP, who is now benefiting as well, thanks to Obama, who's a Democrat. So basically, when you talk about traditions, I want to push back just a little bit, because traditionally speaking, the Republican Party has done more for Black folk than the Democrat Party has ever done.
I have to disagree, but go ahead.
Well, you're talking about voting, right? So, you know, it was Republicans that pushed that policy all the way up until the very end. Right. But
that's also, excuse me.
But tell the whole story on that, bro.
No, he goes
to the very end. Up until the very end.
I'm not going to give a whole history lesson where you got Google, but here's what I'm saying.
Right.
You know, so here's what I'm saying, though. If we are thinking about what's in the best interest of Black folk, then stop voting for the same Democrats that are going to put the immigrant first. If you look at what Biden is talking about, he's already prioritizing the immigrant, you know, and putting them above black families, black men and women. Absolutely. And they're selling a song and dance. Told Ice Cube to get to the back of the bus. You know,
nah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
No.
Ice Cube
he said we're going to ignore you.
Yeah.
You ain't even on the bus. You ain't riding.
He said no. He told him to get to the back of the bus because he said that he would talk to him after the election. So let's get to the back of the bus, Negro, until we get this done. And so yeah. So the point is that they're doing the same old. They have no interest in actually helping the disenfranchised or those who are the most vulnerable among us. If you're black, now, if you're vulnerable and you're an immigrant, or if you're vulnerable and you're a white woman, or if you're vulnerable and you are gay, yeah, we're going to put you first as a Democrat. You know, and that's the policies that they're just shoving down, you know, everybody's throat, and they're not shying away from it.
No, they're doubling down on it.
So,
but our current administration could have done everything that was presented in the Cuban Zirconian plan, but when it was brought earlier, nah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
but you know, he's one person. He's not a party, so I'll leave it at that.
Here's what I'll say about that. I mean, mistakes were made. You know, mistakes were made. I think that, you know, when you're talking about cabinet, you know, the cabinet should have been more reflective of what the American populace looks like. We could have walked away, even though the election is not over yet. You know, no state has certified anything yet. However, regardless of what the outcome is going to be, the Republican Party could have walked away with this election, hands down, if people understood the mindset of black folk. For example, black folk don't play with illness, you know, and so we've got COVID. You know, that's a major reason why it was even close to begin with. You know, black people aren't playing with that. They want to see some. They want to see some real, at least resolution or actual concern taken toward the matter. And you know, the way that it's projected or perceived, even though it's not true, is that it's kind of willy nilly. We're just going to go out and do whatever. And so that turned a lot of black folk off. You know what I mean? And here's the issue behind the whole COVID thing. You can't just put that on the president, because if I knew about G5, which is a project that where we send out military in order to track pandemics in other countries to see where it's spreading, we knew about that going way back. I want to say August, September of last year.
Right.
And so the government was tracking this before. So the government was tracking it. It wasn't just the president that knew, but both sides of the House knew. You know, I mean, both the Senate and the House, they all knew. And so they all dropped the ball on that. They failed to, rather than Congress, all right, rather than trying to protect the people in order to put new protections in place, they spent their time trying to impeach a president over stuff that was never substantiated. So wasted all kinds of taxpayer dollars, and now we're paying for it in human treasure. So,
I mean, you're making great points, bro. Great points. It comes down to that Washington or the Cowboys. You know, we saddle up with our teams and we ride them.
Political thing, though. See,
yeah.
It's not a party line thing. We're talking about human lives. We're talking about American citizens. Now they were playing party, you know. Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And so even when we're looking at what's going on with the new stimulus, you know, Mr. Bell and I, we came up with a plan that would have helped every American out, at least every head of household who pays taxes. You know, we came up with this plan way back last year sometime. But, you know, rather than actually being concerned about the American people and American citizenry, they've decided to throw peanuts at people which is a complete is completely disrespectful. $1,200 or whatever the case. When we have a governor who is shutting down businesses, they're picking and choosing who the winners are. You're placing a ceiling on how much money a business can make. For example, restaurants. You know, if you own a restaurant or an airline, then you're going out of business before COVID, before we get a hang on COVID. You know, that's just the bottom line to it. And it doesn't have to be that way. You know, there are things, safeguards that could be put in place in order to save the small businesses, to save lives, the whole nine. But rather than worrying about the people, they're too busy playing politics in Washington. And guess whose fault that is? That's your fault, the voters, because the voters are sending the wrong people to Washington, and they do it every time. And that includes Mr. Bobby Scott, who does nothing but toe the party line. This CARES Act is a joke because the CARES Act doesn't actually put money directly into the citizenry's hands. For the most part, it helps, you know, the business owner, and the business owner oftentimes can decide how they want to distribute the money to the workers. So, you know, everything that they're coming up with is nothing but new, innovative ways that sound good in order to pacify the people through this pandemic, and it's an insult, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves.
Right, Brother Conrad.
Before we do the advertisement break, I am curious, what was that plan?
You could have easily taken, now this is just an exaggerated number. I mean, do you mind if I share it, Jerome?
No, that's fine. Go for it, man.
Yeah. All right. So they came out with a stimulus package of what, $2-3 trillion, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, just conservatively speaking, you know, there are going to be people who are going to disagree with this, but just if you think about it, every head of household could have been given $1 million, and it would have come up to 0.09% of $2 trillion. You know, and in order to sustain until
say that again.
Yeah, I think the math. I'm a math teacher. My math may be a little off, but
no, that's right. That's what we came up with, and we even went as far as when we were talking. We even went as far as 2 million per household.
Right. And so it came up to, even with the 2 million, it came up to 0.09% of what the 2 trillion was. And it's also interesting that the 2 trillion came out, and how much did China lose? 2 trillion, you know, and Americans got what, $1,200, you know, and a little bit of a CARES Act that came later on down the road. So when you look at what politicians are actually doing and how they are fleecing the flock, we are the flock as the American people, they all need to be thrown out of Washington onto their asses, and or they'll be hanged for treason, because what they are doing is treasonous to the American people, is treasonous to the Constitution. Even when you look at these unconstitutional codes and statutes, for example, that Governor Northam is bringing down, it's treasonous to the U.S. Constitution, it's treasonous to the Virginia Constitution. Any politician that comes up with any codes or statutes that violate our Constitution, that person is a traitor. So another thing that we need to start doing is we need to talk about taking away qualified immunity from politicians. When we do that, then we can hold them accountable. You know, anybody with any type of qualified immunity is above the law, and it shouldn't happen. So,
and no one should be above the law. Correct. No one should be above the law. Brother Conrad.
Well, that reminds me of sort of how I've been sort of driving myself a little crazy this past year, talking about some bold ideas of my own when I was back running for council, including some ideas like basic incomes, like you two gentlemen touched on. But in my driving crazy, I was still driving safe, because I was driving a Jetta from Southern Volkswagen in Chesapeake, 1248 South Military Highway. Stop by, get yourself a nice car like that too. Speak with Cynthia Rawlings and Charlie Roy, and then you can get around all these great expanded roads here in the Hampton Roads in a nice, safe car.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Want to remind everyone that I help put money in people's pockets. This is a great example of one of my clients. They purchased this property from $33,000 from some family members. I provided them with 90% of the acquisition and 100% of the rehab costs for this person who is now one of the great real estate investors in Maryland. I do this all across the country. I can do it for you as well. Hey, so let's bring this back to General Mike Payne.
Hey, before we go there, there's one other point I wanted to make about that stimulus that me and myself and Mr. Bell were talking about. The purpose of the money, that we came up with those numbers, it wasn't just for the sake of just putting, millions of dollars in the pockets of American citizens. One of the things that you noticed that took place back then was China started buying up all the stock. And so what we could have done is, if we had put enough money into the economy by stimulating the economy, by putting money into American citizens' pockets, it could have been American citizens who were buying these stocks rather than foreigners.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So what we did was we started giving away the country to a foreign agent, and, that stuff has been happening for a while. But it would have given Americans the opportunity to begin to take back control of our own stock. And you can't convince me that Congress either didn't think about this, or they didn't care, or that they wanted to continue to create this caste, which is what they've been building upon over the last 40 years. You know what I mean? So and we see that through the dumbing down of our education system, by bringing in and eroding families, by bringing in the LGBTQP, because pedophile is coming next. We see that with the drag queen hours and all that other stuff. Is pedophilia that's connected to that. So all these things are a part of what Mr. Payne was talking about, insofar as, he was talking about it from more of a black person's standpoint or a black family standpoint. I'm speaking of it, and Mr. Bell are speaking of it from an American citizen's traditional family values standpoint. And without having a traditional family values and strong families, you can't have strong communities. Thus, we can't have a strong nation.
That P point is interesting. I'm going to have to look more into that. But hey, we're here tonight with Brother Mike Payne from the original Black Panthers of Virginia. Is there something that you haven't had a chance to say so far that you really want to make sure that the viewers understand?
Well, I mean, we can go on all day about everything we've been talking about. A lot of us agree on a lot of points. Like you were talking about earlier when you said leverage. The sad thing is now they don't even need to use leverage. They got us turned so inside out as a people that we do a lot of work for the oppressive people ourselves, and it's extremely sad. I just recently did a speech in North Carolina where I explained how slavery even still exists today by just different names, and how it just keeps getting reinvented. And until Black people realize that, and they know the trap that is set there for them, they're going to continue to run into certain problems, and just to give a brief summary of that, what I mean by that is when you go from slavery to the Black codes to the Jim Crow, on up to the jail system, you can kind of see how that free labor thing just keeps presenting itself. And then when you go to the schools and you start going to the school to prison pipeline, and you go to the laws that are made to entrap Black people, and that's another thing we have to watch out for, the verbiage that is being used when we say things such as minority. That no longer really includes us, just like Brother Downs was saying as well. That's not for us. We have to, when we're looking at the voting rights and things of that nature, we need to be very specific, and we need to say Black people or people with African descent, Black people in America. We need to actually say, what are you going to do for Black people? And when you say the Black agenda, because otherwise, if you say minority, that doesn't include you. You know, you're not gonna benefit from that. So that's something that we need to educate the public about, because while they're looking at stuff and voting on minority programs or whatever they say they're going to do, that doesn't even include us, and half of us don't even know it. So those are problems, and those are things that we have to do, I guess, from a grassroots standpoint, as far as educating the people.
Yep.
Interesting. All right, so how does this all work, man? You know, I wasn't here for the early part, so I missed some of your information. But I know about the Black Panther Party for self-defense. I know about the new Black Panther Party.
Mm-hmm.
How is this all connected?
Well, you know, of course you have the beginning, the Black Panther Party for self-defense, 1966. Then you have technically, you know, as we always, you know, a lot of people don't know, but we kind of birthed the new Black Panther Party somewhere after the Black Panther Party for self-defense was pushed underground. Once the Black Panther militia was started with Michael McGee Sr., you know, you have Khalid Muhammad, who was kicked out of the kicked out of the Nation of Islam. And, and him and a brother by the name of Aaron, this is stuff you can look up, out of Dallas, Texas, put together the new Black Panther Party. And you know, that's how that came about. King Rick comes up from under Michael McGee as a bodyguard and you know, as a soldier, and he stands up and says, you know, we need to have the resurgence of the originals. You know, we need to have the resurgence of, you know, what we had before with the Huey P. Newton and the Bobby Seale and things of that nature. So, you know, he went out and made that happen, and you know, we branched off from that. So it's been a wonderful thing. Yeah, we all have the same goal at the end of the day. We do approach it a little differently, you know, and that's why you see our dress code is a little different than the new Black Panthers. And, you know, we approach things just a little bit differently, but we have the same goal as go ahead.
And you were saying earlier that your 10-point plan is similar to the original 10-point plan of the original Black Panther Party for self-defense.
Right.
Did you go over those 10 points in my absence? I did
not. We have
please do.
Yeah, we have community patrols still as number one, mentoring programs as two, educational classes, manhood training, that's definitely needed. Housing, food, and medical assistance. We have security services that we provide for events in our community. Job assistance and placement. And that's one thing, let me touch on that with job assistance. We have to, if minimum wage doesn't go up and the poverty rate doesn't come up, diminish, then we're going to continue to have a lot of these issues in our neighborhoods. A lot of people want to say that, you know, quote unquote, black on black crime is an issue with this, that, and the other. But you have to realize any place that is considered impoverished or has these problems, and when people can't feed themselves and without the knowledge, the different programs and things that's needed to make things better in the community, they're going to resort to crime. So, you know, these things have been set in place. You know, of course, we can go all the way back to redlining and different things of that nature. But yeah, job assistance and placement is a thing that we like to concentrate on as well. Conflict resolution. Conflict resolution is a big deal because, as you see here, even in Virginia, we have a bit of a gang problem and different things going on. So conflict resolution is a major thing in the community, and it helps to get the people in certain situations. So we don't mind being a part of that. Also, college placement. We're on number 9, I believe it's college placement. That's something that's important, you know, that along with, I'll say, / entrepreneurship, just for us to be able to have that education and be able to stand on our own and do things that we need to do to better ourselves. Number 10 is, of course, love, honor, respect, and protection of our queens and community by any means necessary. So those are our 10 points, and like I said, they're pretty similar to the ones from 66.
Okay. Are people still getting involved? I know in the 90s, maybe up until around 99, 2002, there was a presence of the Black Panther Party in whatever iteration it was in the Hampton Roads area. I knew them, and then I look up in 2010 and I don't see them. I don't have contact with them anymore. So I'm wondering, is there a resurgence? Did it go underground? What's happening?
Well, you know, from the research that I've done, you had the new Black Panther Party that has been in this area. You had the 757 or Seven City Panthers, I believe they were called.
Right.
And they had, I don't know exactly what happened to them or why they stopped, or but they had been inactive for a good while. And I have been in contact with certain individuals that are part of the new Black Panther Party and different things like that. And they do still do some type of programs around here or something. I'm not sure. I kind of just worry about what I need to do and what I'm doing with my organization. I stay pretty busy. So, but they are around and they do have different things going on here and there. But I know that we are completely in the neighborhoods, in the communities consistently. It's something we've been doing since we started. We don't miss a beat. We stay out there. We're always out there. We're always giving back. It's just something that we've been taught to do since I started with King Rick. So,
Ashe. Conrad, I know you had a question. Sherwood Forest Elementary had rats.
Right. Yeah.
Talk about that, bro.
They had, we get these calls, and they had a thing where there was some, droppings and different things going on. And some of the parents were saying that they didn't believe that things had been cleaned up. So we went to the school and demanded to see the paperwork, because every time you have an exterminator come through and they do what they need to do, there's paperwork, and we wanted to see it. We wanted to make sure our kids were safe and that our kids had a good learning environment. And we wanted to make sure that the place, the lunchroom and everything was clean. So we just asked to see the paperwork and make sure everything was okay. And they did produce it.
Okay, good. What are some of the other things that the original Black Panthers of Virginia have done? I want to go through your website and kind of show some of those accomplishments, because these aren't things that most people would attribute to the Black Panther Party.
Yeah. We had, I think it was Madison Trust Elementary was always a big one. That was kind of early when we first started. We're playing slave games with our children. They were playing Harriet Tubman games, I believe that was. They had masters chasing around slave children, and certain children were acting as slaves. And I didn't appreciate the mockery, that was being made of that situation. A lot of times they like to make a mockery out of certain things that happened in slavery to make it more, I don't know, acceptable, or like it wasn't as bad as it seemed. I don't know what they're playing on. They water it down a lot is basically what they do. So then people can kind of look and say, oh, stop playing. It's no big deal. Why are you complaining, this, that, and the other? But the problem with that is not just with the Black children, but with the white children. They look at that and say, hey, well, you're saying it's a lot worse than it was, but when we teach classes about Black history and we tell the different stories, or the stories of like Emmett Till, even the white children are like, wow, like this really happened? Like it was that bad? And their mothers, the parents of them, they'll contact me and say, hey, thank you. That really made him look at things a different way. So when I see that happening, I start to understand that if our school system would stop watering down the truth about history and teaching the Black and white children the true history of what happened, and they would have more of an empathetic mindset and be able to understand, instead of thinking that, they grew up just thinking, oh, well, it wasn't that bad, this, that, and the other. So we had to go to that school basically to, make a long story short. The NAACP had been there. They did some speech, whatever, but I guess they were still playing the games in the gym. So we went there and told them it was going to stop. It had to stop immediately. So they tried to say we broke into the school and everything like that, but we did show ID. We came in, we had it on tape, and we put a stop to it.
That's interesting. I think you brought up a good point. Once people are aware of things, it does change mindsets. There was a recent politician by the name of Dr. Jeffrey Feld, and Dr. Feld and I had a couple of conversations, and he shared with me that he was watching one of the TV shows, The Watchmen, and they had that scene from what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he said, "Seko, did you know about that?" I said, "Yeah, my parents taught me about this ever since I could remember. We talked about it in church ever since I could remember." And he's like, "I've never heard about this." He said, "So when I saw it on The Watchmen, I went and I Googled it, and I found out that this really happened." And I said to him, "Well, did you know about the Atlanta massacre in 1906? I said, "Because this is standard in America. Right. This was standard this is American tradition. This is
that education's by design. It's catered toward people like me who are supposed to find out about Kristallnacht, before the Holocaust in Germany, but we don't hear about stuff like that happened right here in this country until decades after we graduate high school."
Wow. Good point, Brokan. Brokan on with. But once Jeffrey knew about it, he said, "Seko, I have a different mindset. This is an adult doctor, adult male." He said, "I have a different mindset, and I'm starting to better understand some of the things that people are fighting for." He said, "Look, I've always understood it because I'm a Jew from New York, and I got my share of, mess, but I understand it deeper." And he said, "I think more people need to know about it." So Emmett Till commemoration, what happened with that?
Yeah, that happened right after we did the class, and I realized how many people didn't know about young Emmett Till. So what we decided to do was have a commemoration to, just celebrate his life. And a lot of people don't even give him credit for knowing that he started or birthed the civil rights movement. So what we did was we put out a nice big picture of Emmett Till. We released, I believe it was 14 balloons for his age or whatnot. And we just told his whole entire story, just went through it. And I guess it was a good thing, but it was also sad because a lot of people that were even within their 50s asked me, "Was he that black cowboy?" Because he wears that hat in that picture. And it was sad to me that a lot of black people don't know who Emmett Till was. A lot of people look at a lot of stuff we go through and say it was, these are conspiracy theories, but like COINTELPRO, they believe that's a conspiracy theory. No, these are legal things that happen. These are documented. These are things you can look up. But, so that's what we wanted to do. That was the point of that, was to tell his story and just to educate the public on, some more Black history and things that have been going on and what was done to a 14-year-old young man.
Brokan?
Well, I have sort of like one last little in-depth policy question, and then I have a novelty question. Okay. So let me go ahead and get the deep one out of the way. So going into 2021, I'm going to ask what boldness is needed, because the current governor signified a wish to move on marijuana legalization. And personally, I want to move toward the Oregon model, as it significantly lifts police off of our communities. Now, past guest and soon-to-be future guest of the Beach Brothers Show, Lieutenant Governor candidate Sean Perryman, points out in a state Donald Trump won on November 3rd, Florida, they also voted to increase the minimum wage to $15 by 61 to 39%. Every congressional candidate who openly ran on Medicare for all, either in a swing state or in a blue district, they won. In a pandemic, Black organizers in Atlanta, Philly, Detroit, Milwaukee, and other places activated hard to reach places of the community, and voter registration rose significantly. 1.1 million people registered in the first half of June, for instance. So naturally, Sean, who is more of a progressive former member of the Fairfax NAACP, will run as a staunch and bold Democrat and encourage such boldness in 2021. Now, Madison and Jerome are confident, bold conservatives. My question would be, is there a way to secure growth and strength in our communities in a way that both sides can contribute to?
Yeah, there is. I think that on the political side, when we have our Black leaders that are in politics, we need them to stay with the Black agenda and not deviate. We need them to not sell out, I guess will be the correct term to use. What happens is a lot of times once some of our Black politicians get to a certain level, they tend to just, sell out, and they go with the same plan that's been there for ages that does nothing for us. So we need the ones that, and even the white ones, as far as politicians, if they're going to have an agenda for us or have something in place for us, or if we have something to offer, like Ice Cube had a plan or whatnot to offer either side, I think that that's what we need to do. If not, start our own party to where we can have our collective mindset put together to where when somebody can say, hey, this is what we're going to push to because we need this group of people. But we have to get on the same page as Black people. And that's one thing that's really destroying us is we're so divided. We're divided by so many different things. We're divided. We're fighting so many different fights when we need to be Black first. Like I said, if you want to go to the LGBTQ community, okay, but be Black first. And what's happening is while you're over there voting for something else for this community or for the minority communities or whatever other community you're voting for, or for a church factor or whatever it is, you're forgetting to be Black first. You see what I'm saying? Because what's going to happen now is while you're voting for all these other different things, you're spreading that all these different, factions of votes when you need to be voting on our personal civil rights and our rights to be treated with justly and treated as human beings. That's what we need to get first, first and foremost. Before you can be Christian, Muslim, Protestant, gay, straight, whatever you want to be, you have to be human first. So until you can vote on walking around in your own skin, we have to get off of that. We have to definitely come together and have that one mindset to vote Black. Once we do that, then we can go to the politicians and tell them what we want, what we expect. We need to stop falling for the pandering that they're doing, as far as, like Bill Clinton, he could play, what was it, the saxophone, trumpet, something like that. And
Hillary Clinton had hot sauce on her back.
Yeah, exactly. Hot sauce in her purse. All of a sudden, she's one of us. It's ridiculous. Like we have to stop that. We really do. As Malcolm X even said a long time ago, we need to not be looking towards our entertainers as spokespeople for us, because all of them have a price. All of them do. As soon as their little TV shows or their music career starts getting threatened to be shut down, all of a sudden they got to make this public apology. When you have somebody like myself, I'm not going to apologize for anything unless I feel that I'm really truly sorry for saying it. If I feel that it's right, and that's all that it is. So we need to put whoever we decide to elect as our leaders, we need to pick the right ones, and we need to hold them accountable. I don't mind being held accountable for what I say, what I do, and I think that's what matters and what will make a lot of big changes as far as the people and politics.
Good stuff.
I guess my last question tonight is the novelty one. Are you looking forward to the movie Judas and the Black Messiah?
I absolutely am. Oh, I'm really pumped. I'm pumped about that one, and I hope that they do it right. From what I've heard, brother Fred Hampton's son has actually signed off on it and you know, been involved with that production. But yeah, I'm completely stoked about that film. I can't wait to see it.
It does look very nice.
Yeah. Have you seen the other two that I liked was The Hate You Give? Have you seen that yet?
I saw the trailer for it. That was based on a book, if I recall. I did not see that.
Okay, it's pretty good. Like, even if you know you have young kids, watch that film. That's really good because it comes from a whole lot of different perspectives, and it gives you a different outlook on what happens with this young girl's life. And it's a real dope film. I watched that one in Black Klansman. Both of those were really good.
That I did see. Yeah.
Saw Black Klansman, saw The Hate You Give.
Okay.
Didn't know about Judas and the Black Messiah. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the trailer. I'm going to play a trailer. I'm going to play the trailer.
Deputy Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois Black Panther Party.
Repeat after me. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary.
You're looking at 18 months for the stolen car, 5 years for impersonating a federal officer, or you can go home.
The Black Panthers are forming a rainbow coalition of oppressed brothers and sisters of every color.
Their aim is to sow hatred and inspire terror.
I will learn all that I can.
These ain't no terrorists.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom. I'm gonna die for the people because I live for the people. I live for the people because I love the people.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Rest in peace to King Fred Hampton. You know, I can't wait for that.
I'm amped. I'm amped.
Absolutely.
I am a revolution, man.
A revolutionary. There you go.
In summers, I went to freedom schools, and we said that before we ate. Before we ate lunch. I am a revolutionary. Hey, this was a revolutionary talk. Any last words, Brother Conrad? I
feel refreshed. I feel like I want to get back out and start running and doing activism again. So, yeah.
There we go.
Ashe. Brother Mike Payne, good to have you. General Mike Payne, good to have you on the show.
My pleasure. I appreciate it.
Okay, and you'll have to come back. You're going to have to come back.
Absolutely.
You're going to have to come back. This is bigger than us.
Correct.
This is bigger than us. You've been watching the Beach Brothers show. We're gentlemen in the beach who love Virginia. We love business. And we interview people who are about business and about politics in Virginia. We have some great people coming up. I'm Seko Varner. My brother on the bottom here. He's not really on the bottom. He's just oriented on the bottom for this picture. Brother Conrad.
Blending into my own wall. I don't know if that's a good thing.
Well, he's on the bottom because he follows the Raiders.
We're 6-3. Madison left, but he's a Chiefs fan. We're going to give him that second loss.
Ashe. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. We're going to be back coming up very soon with some more fun from the Beach Brothers show.
This
show was brought to you by Positive Vibes Incorporated, our consulting services. We do credit fixes. We do tax resolution. We lend private money and debt consolidation. So if you need some of these services, we're waiting here for you. Credit fixes, tax resolutions, private money, and debt consolidation. Make sure you call Positive Vibes Incorporated. Take care.